Coal has made it back into the headlines in recent years, with President Trump causing some controversy by declaring that the embattled fossil fuel is, quote, clean and beautiful. And while coal mining is synonymous with places like West Virginia and Pennsylvania, our state had quite a run on the coal industry as well. Western Washington is peppered with a lot of abandoned coal mines. I'm here in Kittitas County, historic town of Liberty, established just after a small gold rush in the 19th century. And for part 3 of my Ghost Towns of the Northwest series, I paid a visit to the remains of the Pierce County coal mining ghost town of Melmont, located near Mount Rainier. Though it was our country's main fuel for power a century ago, it's still being used globally today and remains at the center of controversy. But environmental concerns and politics aside, coal has its place in American, and yes, even Washington state history.
Coal was an incredibly necessary thing at the turn of the century. You needed it to heat your home, you needed it to power trains, you needed it for manufacturing. And so when coal was discovered in Washington, it resulted in the number of coal mines being built and constructed. And so that in turn brought workforces out here.
Because of its many uses, coal was in very high demand during the early part of the 20th century. Therefore, jobs in coal mining became abundant across the country, including right here in Western Washington.
There was a significant African-American migration, in fact, that came to Roslyn and Black Diamond to work in the mines after a group of miners went on a strike there.
And along with these mines, towns started sprouting up in and around the Northwest. Towns like Melmont, which was settled along the Carbon River near today what is the small town of Carbonado in Pierce County around 1900.
People came out to Washington state to develop the natural resources that were out here. So you see coal, you see timber, and you even see gold and other minerals that folks came out here specifically to mine and to exploit those resources.
Melmont was formed by the Northwest Improvement Company, which was a subsidiary of the Northern Pacific Railroad. This ruin in the woods once had everything at its peak, including a hotel, a schoolhouse, produce and butcher shops, and numerous houses to support mining families. But Melmont would start moving towards its ghost town fate when the railroad switched from coal-powered steam engines to diesel motors.
Many of those resources were replaced by modern technologies, and so you had this group of people that had come out here to work and to form businesses and to form industries based around these things. But then as technology changed and as the need for these substances lessened, or as in some cases environmental concerns became paramount, what ended up happening is that the towns that had been built specifically around that to support it dried up.
And not even 2 decades into its existence, Melmont suddenly went from boom to bust, becoming not much more than a group of abandoned buildings in the woods, all of which would be destroyed by a wildfire during the 1920s.
And you see this again and again in Washington's history. It actually becomes a thing that happens again, in the 90s when we had the dot-com boom and bust. So boom and bust cycles are very much a part of Washington's economy and history and always have been.
Now all that remains of this one-time booming coal mining town are ruins of larger buildings that are slowly starting to become part of the forest growth around them, without very much left to see or to save.
Ghost towns tell us a lot about economic patterns, about settlement patterns, about the types of people who lived in Washington over different periods of history. They also can serve as a reminder of what happens when a community does empty out and the things that we lose when they're gone. If you want to visit Melmont, it's an easy hike off State Highway 165 near Mount Rainier and just an hour's drive from Tacoma. That'll do it for this edition of Northwest Now Digital First and my Ghost Towns of the Northwest series. Reporting from the historic town of Liberty in Kittitas County, I'm Chris Anderson.